Hello and welcome to another week of Craft Quest. I am Gabby, or MyLadySprout online. I'm a content producer here at High Res and also a cosplayer. On today's quest, we're going to be making a Ragnatoskr pet bed, which is a Ragnatoskr skin where he's wearing a onesie that looks like Fenrir. So it's a whole jumble of things, but everyone is a cute doggy, squirrel, pet, something, an animal. So we're gonna be making a pet bed. So like a little bed for your dog or your cat, or I guess if you have like a squirrel or like a ferret or something, I don't know. Everyone has wonderful pets at home, I'm sure. And even if you don't have pets, I'm sure you love pet content. If you don't, then I don't know if we can be friends. If you don't like animals, then like, on the real though, I know that you guys loved Heimdall's axe last time, and I love making it too, but I cannot make a prop of that caliber every single other week, so I can't do that frequently because I do have another job here. This is not my only thing. I do a lot of things on a regular day basis. So the Heimdall's axe took me about 3 days to make, so I can't be putting in that time every other week. So I'm thinking we're gonna be doing something like that every month, and then on the in-between, we're gonna be making fun little crafts like we're doing today, which is a pet bed. So if you guys have any other fun little ideas we can do outside of just like cosplay props, then I would love to hear them. But also don't necessarily think that just because we're not making a cosplay specific craft doesn't mean you can't apply the same knowledge to a cosplay or something like that. So stick around to learn all of the good things, you know? So now that we have that out of the way and the air is clear, hopefully you guys aren't too mad. I'm just trying to appease the internet. I'm sorry, don't be too mad. I don't want to make you mad, please. Anyways, with that, let's get armored up. So to get this started, I'm gonna draw it up in my head with the reference image of the Ragnatoskr skin. Just so I can get a general idea. I assume it's just gonna be like a dome-shaped kind of thing with its mouth open, but instead of Ragnatoskr's face, it's just, you know, a bed inside for your pet. So let me draw it up. And then I guess these little horns as well, but we'll make the horns tiny just because. Rawr. And then, yeah, that'll be your little animal chilling in there. It'll be super duper cute. So what I think the first step should be is to actually make a mock-up out of, a small mock-up out of paper. So this is a common thing that people do in cosplay, or at least that's what I do. Even sometimes people do it out of like with sewing projects. They make a very small version of it before they make a big version of it. So we're gonna get some paper so we can kind of try and structure it. Also some tape. Paper and tape are the things that we need. So let me grab those. And I don't really have like a little thing of tape, so I'm just gonna take a bunch of like things of this. I'm gonna take a big piece and I'm gonna cut it into smaller pieces for me to work with. So I imagine it's gonna be in 3 parts. So if there's something like a dome shape like this, then a piece like that, and a piece like, you know, like 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and then you can put them together. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a template out of paper, and then I will transfer it bigger onto foam, because the structure of the little bed will be foam, and then we're gonna cover it in fabric. So let's cut this out. Bring this edge together. Like that. So then as the 2 curved sides come together, then it curves the entire thing forwards. I know hold on. I know right now you're like, what is this little random piece of paper in your hand? This looks like dumb. This looks like dumb. I trust you, it is not dumb. I trust you. I trust you. You trust me. You trust me, okay? That's how this works. I know you probably still think I'm crazy, but Do you see what I'm seeing though? This is the top part of it. This is the bottom. Put some little teeth right there, put some ears here, some googly eyes, pop a little snout right there, and it'll be all good. Trust me, okay? Now that we know that this is a generally all right shape, probably make this a little bit smaller is what I think, to make this part a little bit thinner. Now I'm gonna take it apart again, cut it off where the tape is. Now that we have the general shape, also it's kind of, if it thins out in the top. See, all of these things are things that I'm learning as it's going. So you see how it's thicker down here and thinner up there? I think that really works in trying to close it in. So these are all things that we're noting. The sides that touch the middle part are a little bit more extreme of a curve than these ones. Okay, so now let's think big. Okay, here's another piece. And if you're thinking about it in the size of a pet bed now, you probably want it to, I was thinking about yay high from like here. So if you're thinking about how it's gonna curl over and kind of up front like that. So let's see how this is. We're gonna figure out where the center point is. Probably base it off the bottom here. There's that. Use my face. I only have so many limbs, okay? There's that. And then since this is the smaller one, I can't make this curve bigger, so we're gonna make this the same size as this and cut this kind of. So there it is, very even. It might actually be too big, but we'll see how that is when we get there. Of course you close. And now we can put them together. Now that we have a good dome shape, I would say, then I'm going to go ahead and make the bottom base part to see how that could attach with that as well. And obviously, the final will be made out of foam, so it will hold itself up rather than me having to hold it up myself. So, okay, so I pulled out a tiny round piece. I think what I'm gonna wanna do is make just the front and kind of have it taper the edges here so it attaches to the side. We don't have to make a full round piece. So let me attach this and see if this is big enough or if I need to add a little bit more. Oh lordy, I need like, it's not always easy. And that there, you see that? You see that? That's a cute pet bed. The only thing we need to do is extend and make these little, see how you can see my pinky right here, right there, right there? Then we need to make a little triangle thing to fill that space. And then we'll be good. And what I'm doing is I'm just gonna take some like scrap paper and put it in that empty spot and tape it down. And then I'm gonna cut it all out so then it'll be in the pieces it's supposed to be in. It is in the basic shape that I want it to be to use for the foam. I'm just gonna cut along all of the seams here so then we can transfer that onto the foam. Okay, now that we have all of our pieces separated, I'm gonna see if I have enough fabric to do it. Let's cross our fingers. I actually have this super fluffy purple fabric that I think is absolutely wonderful for this project. This is like maybe 2 yards of fabric, and usually at fabric stores something like this like super furry material is like $15 or $14 a yard, and I got this for like $7 or something at the thrift store. So especially if you're doing something that is maybe not a specific character, you just want something fun that's a fun color, then I definitely recommend going to a thrift store and trying to find some blankets because this is really wonderful. Whoop. Let's keep that there. Let's see. And this time I have my own pins. Let me get my little pin cushion thing here. This will help me keep this down. We're not cutting into the fabric yet. That will be for another time. I just want to test to see if we have enough fabric. All right, actually we have a decent amount because we still have all that left. Awesome, so I may even have some room to make some mistakes. Hell yeah, we love room for mistakes because mistakes will most likely happen. Now that I know that we have extra fabric even to work with, it is time to put this onto foam and cut it out. This is also something that I guess I need to check if I have enough foam for. Oh, heck yeah. Such a perfect amount. This is also leftover from Heimdall's axe. Once again, using your leftovers, but this is so perfect. And if you're not very good at remembering which pieces go where, it's always nice to mark what this is. So this piece right here is like the top piece of the back. So if I just put a, you know, something here, this is like TB for not tuberculosis, but man, probably better on this side then. Then that'll help you remember that this is the top back, and then the other piece you do BB for bottom back, and then so on, left, right, things like that. Just a good thing to keep track of your pieces, especially if things look very similar. All right, so I made sure that these two pieces fit quite nicely together since they are supposed to be one piece. And we have these. Next, we are doing the little front skirt piece out of the thinner foam. Whoop. So now we have all the individual pieces, except for the bottom, but that comes later. And we're gonna go ahead and put them together. And the way we're gonna do it is with all-purpose cement. And all-purpose cement is just super duper sticky glue kind of material, but it's also toxic to inhale. So do this in a very well ventilated area. And even if it is a well ventilated area, you want to use a respirator mask because you don't want that in here. And the way that you use it is there's a little brush in there, and then you brush either side that you want to attach. So we're gonna put it on these little edges here, and then you wait for it to be a little tacky, and then once it's tacky, then you put it together, but be very careful when you're putting it together, kind of go the edges and bring it all slowly together, because once it attaches to each other, then it is very hard to get it apart. So same thing, so here we're gonna do that, and then along these sides we're gonna do that. These sides you're gonna wanna be careful, like I said. When you're putting it together, probably start at the base of it and, you know, bring the corners and then very slowly bring it, and then you're gonna wanna force the foam in the direction that you're gonna want it to go. And then once it's got a general shape to it, then we're gonna heat it up with a heat gun to really define all of those, you know, curves. Rat fact. Ragnatoskr was actually the tea spiller of his time. He lives in the world tree, so he hears all the gossip from all around, and he likes to stir the pot and spread the gossip around to all the gods and goddesses. So the thing with this is, currently it doesn't quite want to be in the shape that we want it to be. And that can all be fixed with a heat gun. We are going to take the heat gun, I'm gonna heat up the foam, and then I'm going to really like kind of curve it to where I want it to be. Basically hold it in the spot while it's hot, and then as it cools, it should stay in that curved position, and then it should hold in the spots where we want it to be. Also, when heating up the foam, you're gonna wanna wear your respirator mask as well, because it gives off some not pleasant smells. Also, probably open a door, bring a fan on in here, you know. Also with this, as you're heating it up, you can, these seams will start to come apart. Just sort of like push them down together and they will come back together. So now that we have it curved, I will now put on the little front lip, the bottom jaw of the mouth, if is that what we're wanting to call it. So let me do that. All right, so I might have miscalculated this, but thankfully it is not really that big of a deal because a lot of this is gonna be covered up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna straight up cut this piece down the middle here. I'm gonna get a little piece the size of this space, and I might even curve it down so it's a little bit easier to get in and out of for a pet. But it is standing up on its own fairly well, even like this. So that's great for us. And it's, like I said before, it's not that big of a deal that it's miscalculated. If you mess up at home, just, you know, do a little patchwork. It's gonna be covered up with fur. So now that it's curving a little bit more here in the front, it is still kind of drooping, but once we put the like circle at the bottom, it should hold it like that. And if not, we can always add a little bit of extra support on the sides here. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a piece of this thinner foam, roll it out here, and kind of hold it how we want it to be. And we're gonna mark that circle in here onto the thinner piece of foam, cut it out, attach it, the whole shebang. Hopefully that'll keep it in place where it needs to be. You'd want more rather than less because you can always trim off excess. So I'm gonna kind of round out the front a little bit more. Here's the little base here. Do the same thing, grab the all-purpose cement, put it on the edges here, put it on the edges here, and then we will sandwich those suckers together. And it should look good. So here we have it with the base on and everything. There's that. It does definitely go over the little limit here, which I had to put a little bit of extra all-purpose cement. But like I said, we purposely gave it a little extra so we could make sure we had enough surface space. But this is easy enough to fix. Just chop off that little excess. And I do think we're gonna have to put a little bit of extra support on the sides here because it does kind of wanna, wow. Here we go. I think it's looking pretty freaking sweet. I have these little extra supports I added right here on either side just to kind of help keep it up. So to me, the next thing to do would be to make the little like words? What's that part? Snout! So I'm just gonna kind of like make a big old circle like this, probably a little bit smaller actually, like that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out little triangles from each side. Well, not each side obviously, but these little like corners here. And then when you bring those triangles in, it kind of makes it a little more curved. I will show you what I mean. All right, so here is that. And when you fill in these like little triangles here, then it creates more of a little bowl basically, you know? Here's a little bowl that we're creating here. So I'm gonna go ahead and all-purpose cement these little pieces together and also hit it with a heat gun to really curve it to the shape that I want. And also the heat gun does help make the all-purpose cement stick to itself a little bit better. So when we come back, we will have a little snout to put right here. It won't be a big one, but we don't need a big one. Rat fact, this skin was actually an older skin and it was supposed to play off of Ragnarok Fenrir for the Odyssey event. And they were actually planning on making events for all the different mythological events, and there was supposed to be one for Ragnarok, but we just ended up keeping Odyssey around. All right, well, it's not too much, but you know, it's there. I do kind of think I should have made it a little bit bigger, but once it has fabric on it and everything, I think it'll be a lot more of a natural little snout going on. So I think it's cute. And when I'm thinking about what needs to happen next, I'd say that the thing we should do next is to go ahead and shape the teeth. Even though we're not putting the teeth on until after we put on the fabric, I want to go ahead and start painting those things so then the paint can be drying while we are working on covering everything in fabric. So the Ragnatoskr skin has like 3 little teeth on either side of the top and the bottom, so that means a total of 12 teeth. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some of just the excess thicker foam of this, the top part here. Just grab some of these, and we will kind of try and mark out how big we want these teeth to be. So when I'm looking at it, I don't want them to be too big. So maybe something like that, and that would work on the bottom too, I think. Yeah, so that's a nice little size right there, I'd say. I kind of just held up one of the scrap pieces here to the whole bed basically to see what a good size is. I don't want them to be too big, just want them to be a cute little accent. So drew that out, and now I'm gonna cut it out and use that as a template to make 11 more because there are a total of 12 teeth, 3, 3, 3, and 3. I will now get my Dremel. I have this Dremel or red rotary tool, and you put on little end pieces that have filing or sanding abilities. Basically, it just rotates really quickly, and I'm going to take that to all these edges to kind of round them out to make them a little bit nicer, so then they will look a little bit more like teeth, you know? So that is going to send a lot of plastic in the air, lots of little bitty particles of plastic, so I will use my respirator again as well as some eye protection, just because otherwise it'll get up in your nose and you'll have like black boogers because of the little black pieces of plastic that'll go up in your nose. We don't want that. Oof. And then now that we have these, we need to clean up our space. What I'm gonna do with these is I'm gonna heat seal it. So I'm gonna get the heat gun, zap them all with it a little bit, just so it really closes all of those open pores in the foam, basically, is what the heat gun is doing. And then we will hit it with a rubber coating paint. And that's what this is. This is called Plasti Dip. You can get it at Walmart, Home Depot, all the various places. And I'm just gonna coat it in that, and that's gonna be the base coat. Then I'm gonna hit it with some white spray paint. So all of that is gonna have to be done outside in a well-ventilated area because we're not spraying some spray paint up in here. So next time you see these teeth, they will be white and shiny. My shiny teeth and me, you know? So now we just cover it with fabric. There's a little bit of white fabric that's gonna go here because he has like this little like white section around his mouth. But the rest is gonna be purple. I have this blanket from the thrift store that is absolutely perfect for something so cute in a little dog bed. And then all of the other fabric I got is also blankets from the thrift store. I am a big proponent of using thrift store stuff when you can, especially with something like this that's just gonna be like, have a dog in it. But even in my cosplay that I make, I often get things from the thrift store because one, it's usually cheaper than buying the fabric at, you know, the actual fabric store. If you can go to a thrift store that has stuff for pretty cheap. And then also you're saving fabric that's probably gonna get thrown away, because little fact about thrift stores is that whatever stuff that they don't sell, then it just ends up getting thrown away anyways. So if I can use it and give it a new life, then I am always a fan of doing that. Rat fact, well, this one's actually more of a Fenrir fact, but if you want the pet bed to be a little more accurate, you can add some chains to it, because Fenrir is chained down, even though he was supposed to like devour all the earth and sky, but they just decided to chain him down instead of kill him. Just trusted him like that. All right, so we have everything down here, and I gave them a decent amount of space between each other because I am gonna cut quite a bit actually outside the lines just to make sure we have enough fabric to cover what we need to cover. Okay, so shaking out all of the So the things we're gonna need for this next part is the fabric that we just cut out, the dog bed, some hot glue, and some pins. So the way this is gonna work is you're just gonna get your pieces that you cut out and line them up with the section of the foam that it's at. So you're just gonna take some pins and pin it right into the foam so it stays put. And then because I have a blanket that I'm using instead of just normal fabric, the liner will stick out in some sections, but I'll just kind of shove it on under there so it's out of my way. It's no big deal. And then what we're gonna do is after I pin down all the sections, then to make sure everything fits properly, I'm then gonna take the hot glue gun and I'm gonna go along all the edges with the hot glue. You don't really need to worry about the middle part because if it's pulled taut and down on the sides, then the middle shouldn't be an issue. But we are going to not glue down this front part quite yet because like I said, we're gonna get the off-white fabric and measure that out and do that. So I'm probably only going to glue down here and along the bottoms here and then also along the front here. And in some sections when you're doing it, it might have a little bit too much fabric. You can either just go ahead and glue it down on top of the other piece, or you can trim it off a little bit because we did cut more than we needed. And in the front, it's even nice because it can just kind of, well, obviously not on this one because we're gonna put the little strip on, but if on these edges we go over, then it's totally fine to just kind of fold it over and then glue on the inside rather than on this edge here. All right, so now it is mostly all put together except for this little front piece like I said we were gonna do. And I will grab now the tan colored fabric. I'm gonna go ahead and drape this on with the rougher side facing me and then pin it down. And then I'm gonna take a Sharpie and just kind of go along where this line is here because I can kind of feel the edges of everything and where I want it to be. And so this is where the little snout is, and it's not the whole snout, it's like half the snout. So I'm gonna do half the snout and just bring that down. And then we'll cut it out. I'm gonna give it a decent amount of extra because I do want to fold it under here when, you know, I'm gluing it down. So I'm just gonna put a line along where I feel the edge, and then I will then cut it like an inch or two away from this line. Wherever it's gonna be draped, then I will probably go ahead and cut off these little excess pieces of fur. I'm gonna go ahead and pin them back so they're out of my way. And with this, I would rather have these little pieces over the top of this fabric, mainly because this is a lot more furry, so it will hide some of these little, you know, edges, whereas if we did it the other way around and put this like very clean edge on top of this fuzzy edge, then it's not as nice. Now for cutting, careful cutting. All right, so now we have that. And I'm going to then glue down these edges like we did the rest. So now that everything is pretty much glued down, we are going to work on the ears and then the little horns, because I think they're also little horns. So we're gonna go ahead and shape those with foam. And then same with the little nose. I'm still debating whether I want to paint the nose black because so for the ears, I'm gonna grab some of the excess brown paper I have so I can kind of get what height I want out of these. And when looking at a reference image, I want to say they're kind of big, honestly, but I'm gonna make them a little bit smaller. I think I'm gonna put them like there. All of my very exact measurements. I'll let you guys know what the measurement is. Okay, and then we're gonna cut it, not with the fabric scissors, but with normal scissors. So we're gonna make also the size of the horns. If this was the ear, then I think the horn would be about this tall in comparison to like, this is where that is, this is where that is. So like, using my finger measurements, about this tall, which is about 2/3 of the height, I feel like, of the ear. I'm also gonna go ahead and cut out a nose out of the thicker foam just because I'm already cutting foam. So with his ear, it kind of curves in like that on the side. So we're gonna do that on either one with the heat gun. I'm gonna grab that heat gun and curve it on in there. And then once we do that, then we are gonna cover it with fabric, do the same thing, grab the templates, put it on the fabric, cut it a little bit bigger, then we're gonna hot glue it on. And then I went, like I said, I went ahead and cut this little nose out. You know, very cute. A little button nose right there. I'm gonna also Dremel this down a little bit, like we did with the teeth, just so it's kind of a nice curved nose. And then yeah. And we'll only have a few more finishing touches after that. Alrighty then, so we have gotten many pieces. We're gonna figure out where we want these placed, you know? And then we're gonna just hot glue it on because they're pretty lightweight actually, so should be fine. I'm also gonna put some hot glue around the base because I went ahead and all I did was put a little bead right along the end here, but then it's staying kind of well, but I just wanna make sure it's not gonna get knocked down, so I'm gonna go at the base here and add a little extra support. And then when you're putting on the second one, just try and make sure it is similarly placed. At this time, I'm also gonna go ahead and grab the teeth that are now painted white and placing them on there. All of it's just being hot glued on. Woohoo, hot glue. This is a very beginner friendly because we're using mostly hot glue, so. Positives. There we go, much better. So now that almost everything is done, it's time for the best part of the entire thing. Giant googly eye. Okay, well, not just one eye, it's two eyes, but this is just pure beauty. You see this silliness? And guess what we're gonna do with these? We're just gonna straight up hot glue these babies on. Oh, it looks so silly. And there we go. Technically, it would have been maybe fun to make like get a red blanket or something, so it's like a tongue in the inside, but I just wanted to keep with the purple theme. And obviously you can also just go ahead and put a dog bed in here or make a dog bed. So even though this wasn't a cosplay prop, I really hope you guys still enjoyed it and I was still able to appease the internet gods. And I would love to see you guys use the techniques we used here or just make a fun pet bed or something like this. Obviously, if your pet is bigger, then you'd want to make it bigger or smaller, depending on lots of factors. But yeah, send pictures or just ideas that you guys have for not only props, but also fun stuff like this that you might have that we could do in future episodes. So yeah, like I said, I'm MyLadySprout or Gabby, and I will see ya on the next one. Bye.